elaborate more on how to melt ourselves till we reached our gaseous nature?
It's good you're asking from the duality of light. My son was asking from duality of light, but because he's watching YouTube. He said, why are you complaining about YouTube? You're on YouTube too. Everything I'd answer. I said, no, but YouTube you have to watch authorized people that know the subject. But it's good that you're watching that understanding, that this duality of light and that reality of light is important, it's immense in this path and in this way. It's understanding, its practices and how to melt. So whether we talk about the three states of matter, because you can't deny these teachings, or everyone in school is taught about the duality of light and that light has particle and wave. But most people are living particle because they're under continuous observation and they want to be observed by nonsense people because of Instagram and TikTok. That's shaitan's plan, that don't turn into a wave, because if you become a wave you're very powerful. You connect into oceans of power that can't be imagined. So keep everybody to be a particle and not to go through that. Then also in science they teach you that every matter has three states. It's going to be solid or liquid and then gaseous, which is then ethereal of an angelic nature. If your matter is solid you're rigid, your understanding is rigid and everything is like that. That doesn't make for good Sufis. So the Sufi has to be and move towards a liquid state, more patient, more calm, able to fit into every type of situation. You can take a shaykh into a big majlis of big shaykhs and he can talk to them, or you can take him into a group of hippies who absolutely have no idea who he is. They took us to that New Mexico, that bizarre place, and you can teach them because you're liquid, you're not rigid, and they melted you to a state in which to be just like water, that if you pour water into anything it flows into it. And that was again when you want to understand a little bit about Shams and Rumi, that was understanding. Sayyidina Rumi Jalaluddin was a big scholar of Islam and external, he had taken an external path. And when it was Allah's destiny he wasn't a murid, he was a murad in which Allah had called upon him, he was being called. So then Sayyidina Shams Tabriz was dispensed to him to go and collect him. And that was Shams Tabriz. The names are iconic names, meaning I'm the point of the sun that's most powerful. Means that was a shaykh, and all shaykhs are Shams that are of a sun nature, Narani, their internal fire has been lit and their associations can begin to cook people whether they're present or at a distance, and that to take them from their very solid state and begin to melt them. And when people first come to tariqah they're like a wet log, wet piece of wood, that they think everything's fantastic, this is great, it's ecstatic, this is amazing, amazing, because you're still wet. So you're not feeling the heat yet. But when you sit for a while and continue to try to ascend, then the energy becomes very fiery. And a wooden log, dry log feels the flame immediately. They feel the difficulty, they feel the burning, they feel the agitation, that if they sit in the presence of the shaykh the talks may agitate them and just they go back, listen, and oh that agitated me. And because your nature now is drying and the heat is coming and you're going to catch fire. If they can burn you long enough in which you feel that every time you listen you go out and you fight people, you get angry but you try to control. After the association put something sweet in your mouth to give your nafs relief. So that was the sunnah, they would pass dates from the association because everyone's nafs is going to be like on fire. You give them something sweet and pacify the beast. That's the hikmah of making it just be calm down. And then if you can control that, you're able to move through the fire until the student becomes lit, where they actually lit that log and they're continuously on fire. Means they have a sense of an internal heat, they heat up very strong and they control their anger, they control their bad characteristics, and then they have a state in which they're lit, they heat up, and that's that phase. That if they light up long enough, more enough and continuously, they become like a sun in which they remain continuously lit. And then they're taught on how to turn off and on so that you don't bother people all the time. But when there's an association then there's a time to turn your energy on, and when there's not an association then there's a time to turn the energy off for people not to feel it. Otherwise they can't keep the company of somebody like that. So it's a process of burning and following the teachings, doing the meditation, doing the awrad and the connections. Alhamdulillah. So all that, it's all here. Timeless reality. So if they have the book on the timeless reality, it's like an encyclopedia. Imagine a day in which the internet doesn't work and these are like a reference guide. That what did he say? What was about the jinn? What was about the energy? How did I make the connection? That's why these things are coming out. These were always the end phase of tariqah, that nobody knew about these except those whom were very, very advanced in all their practices. So the last chapter is coming out first now. So they're bringing the end phase now because we're in the end game. Either people learn how to connect, how to make their connection to be safe through all of the difficulties, to get their coordinates, to get their understanding, to get their protection. All of that is required through the muraqabah, through the connection, through their heart, and to connect to these channels of light, inshaAllah.